In a world full of movie podcasts, here is one more. Welcome to Defend Your Movie with Sean Donnelly.
The time has come again. The champion must stand. It can only be one of us. Victoria! So stand up and fight, my friend. There's a title you must defend. Shut it on, bring it to me. Defend your movie.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Defend Your Movie. I am your host, Sean Donnelly, sitting here with two people. One, my co-host, Farrah Brooke. How are you, Farrah?
Hi. Happy to be here.
Good to see you. And our guest this week, a buddy of mine. I've known you for... it's one of these people in comedy that I've known for years. We don't hang out all the time, but
Only on podcasts.
Only on podcasts.
Yeah.
That's it. I did your podcast, and now you're doing mine. The very funny writer for Seth Meyers, Matt Goldich, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Oh, it's great to be here.
Matthew.
Matt!
Sean was wonderful on our podcast. Sorry, I've been so busy, and
Yes.
so I'm happy to return the favor.
And I'd like to say it's Sorry I've Been So Busy is also a Showbiz podcast. So
Yes.
we're doing, this is the crossover.
Part of
This
the
is
Showbiz. This is the crossover. This is like when the Friends meet Seinfeld. Did that actually happen? I'm not sure.
I
Or
know,
like,
but Seinfeld met Mad About You. Kramer.
yes.
Paul Reiser's apartment was Kramer. Kramer took over Paul Reiser's apartment, I think.
Wasn't Phoebe also on Mad About You from Friends?
Yes.
Phoebe was originally a character on Mad About You. So
Yeah,
this
but
is
she was.
I'm just happy to be back in our tradition of always having a Seinfeld reference in every episode. We
Right
fell
up
off
top.
the
We
past
did
few,
fall off. I
past
know.
few eps.
We should
but
stick
we're
to
right
it.
back there.
Normally, naturally, we can work a Seinfeld reference into every episode. It's been pretty good. But then when it doesn't happen, and I forget, and then everything, the wheels fall off.
Do you
What are
think
gonna
this
do?
would be a good sketch? Like an updated, like Seinfeld and George and Kramer and Elaine, and like an updated of the soup Nazi, but he's like one of the real Nazis from like the current political climate.
So it's
like
it's
now,
soup
like
alt-right? Is
yes,
that-
the soup all right. There you go. You just named it. I was thinking about that the other day. I think that'd be funny.
Wait, so
Yeah, that's
as
I mean, if it
That's
wasn't
really
so
fun.
horrifying.
as he's handing out the soup, he's just calling people globalists.
Sure.
He just
Yeah.
He just
No,
Yeah.
I'm ready to see a few good impressions of that guy. I'm
Right.
hoping that we're going to see that come in the fall on, the TV shows and stuff. That main guy that
Oh.
people called out.
Richard
Yeah.
Spencer. All the Law and Orders will do it. They'll do.
Yeah.
They probably already did it.
That's true.
Or, well, actually, there's not many left. The SVU is still around.
You'll
They're
find out
definitely gonna do
eventually.
it. Yeah,
You're
Yeah.
a big SVU guy, right?
I love SVU,
Yeah.
but I don't. The new ones, whenever they got like top of the line squad rooms, where it was like not a normal police looking squad room,
Right.
Where they were like they had high tech computer stuff, all the woodwork, and it was like gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was like a gorgeous apartment.
Well, that probably because CSI was so popular, where it's like they go inside the computer,
Yes.
like to do, and then they have to replicate.
They have to
that.
compete.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: so would the soup alt-right guy? Would that be Richard Spencer handing out the soup?
I think it would be like either. I don't think it'd be an actual Richard Spencer. I think it would. That's too much of a bummer.
Much on the nose?
I think it would
Yeah.
have to be either like a generic alt-right guy, or ideally you get the guy who played the soup Nazi to like get that haircut. And
It just change his whole look.
yeah.
That's fun.
Well, it's also that guy. Do you know he fought being called the soup Nazi for the longest time?
The
He hated
actor
it.
or the guy who
the
ran
real
the
guy?
yes.
called the soup man.
Yeah.
But the weird part about it is he's made so much money off that.
Yeah.
Like he's in the city. Like he has multiple soup man stands.
Yeah.
The original one's still there. The one that's from the show. That's like based.
I don't know why he fought it. The word Nazi has so many positive connotations. It seems like he would
You
just
would
embrace it.
think.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like it's not like he's calling himself a Nazi in this thing. Like,
Yeah.
no, he publicly was like, "Don't call me that," but he also was reaping so much benefits over being the soup Nazi.
Sure.
I kind
So
of
it's like-
respect him for standing his ground in that way. He's like, I don't want to be called a Nazi.
I don't want to be
think
called a
he's
Nazi.
still happy for
then
the business.
Don't reap the cash from being the
Why
soup
not?
Nazi.
He gets to do the soup,
yeah.
not be a Nazi. I don't know. I feel
Right.
like he just wanted it's good PR for him to put it out there. By the way, don't call me Nazi. Wink.
Wink. Oh, you're saying it's a wink to the camera a little bit. Don't call me Nazi. Buy my soup, but don't call me
Definitely buy
Nazi.
my soup.
Yes. Well, all this Nazi talk. let's get into this perfect segue to the movie we're doing today.
I probably more so than people realize.
The movie that you're defending today, it's a doozy.
Yes.
A lot of these I'll say it's a doozy. This is like, I think a lot of people have an opinion about this movie.
Okay.
I actually have. We could talk about the show and the movie. The movie is Entourage, the movie.
Yes. Oh yeah.
How does the song go that
Oh,
opens
yeah.
it? Dun, dun.
Ba, ba,
Yeah.
da, 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 da.
Oh,
Ba, ba.
yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
song is.
Yeah.
I think it's Porno for Pyros, right? Isn't it?
No, it's Jane's Addiction.
Jane's Addiction.
Same lead singer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
Entourage, the movie,
the-
came out in 2015, running at an hour and 44 minutes, and it
Yeah.
has a 33% Rotten Tomatoes.
33%. So
That's pretty
people
low.
are not a fan
but
of this movie.
78% of Google users liked the movie.
Yeah. It's
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you get user reviews, it's always there's a discrepancy.
there's always bombs, movies that bomb, and they were like, well, I had an A-, like people coming out of the theater, but those were people that actively chose to pay money and go
right,
see the
and
movie,
those
so
are
they
like diehard
yeah.
Entourage fans.
It's well, first of all, the song, just so you know, the Entourage theme song, which plays at the beginning of the TV show Entourage,
Yeah.
is actually not. It does not play at the beginning of the movie. There's an opening scene that starts with a different song, which is, by the way, a great song.
It is a
called
good-
"Figure It Out."
Who's it by?
By Royal Blood. It's so funny. I actually have been listening to the song on and off, like at the gym, like for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then when I went back yesterday and rewatched the Entourage movie, I did not realize that it's the opening song of the movie. But it's funny that they do have this whole opening scene before you hear the Entourage theme song.
They do. What is it called? Figure It Out?
Figure It Out by Royal Blood. It's actually a great. I don't know anything about the band or the song.
I'm going
but
to play
it's
the song.
But
I want to see if this will work.
Yeah. It's in the
Right,
opening
it's
scene.
in, it's
when
in the
they're-
world of that other song.
It is in the world of that other song, but it's better.
It's actually a really good song.
Yeah, it's actually
Make it a
there's
little
actually
louder.
yeah. I
Yeah. This is like, that
I
actually
don't-
may get you psyched for
I
the
have
movie.
no idea if this song is considered cool or not, but it is good and has a good.
It's actually a really
and
good
I
song.
will say there is we can get into. I don't know how whether you want me to get into it, but there is a lot of good music in the Entourage. A surprising amount of actually good music that I was psyched to hear in the Entourage.
Well,
movie.
to be honest, they never had a problem music-wise. They were
True.
like
Very
even
good
in
point,
the
Sean.
show.
Yeah.
Even in the show, they had a bunch of awesome songs.
there were
For
good
sure.
songs and good music cues and good moments where I was like, oh, that's the perfect song for that moment.
Yeah, like there was. Yeah, exactly. They, like, whoever was doing their music supervising,
Yeah.
which I don't know if I said this
You
before.
know you come away from a great TV show and
Yeah.
movie when you're like, you know what was stand out? The music.
Well,
Well-
it's so funny because I was talking to a friend of mine about. I was thinking about starting to watch the show Ballers, which I think is probably
I've
the
been
closest
considering Ballers
show
as well.
to Entourage. And a friend of mine, I'll give him credit, Seth Reese, who I work with,
Yeah.
said. I was like, does anyone here watch Ballers? And he goes, yeah, I've seen pretty much all of it. I go, is it good? Like, do you like it? And he goes, The Rock wears a lot of cool suits. And I was like, okay, that's something.
I mean, I'm sold.
Yeah, right?
That's a pretty like strong
yeah.
endorsement.
I know, right? It's something.
But the thing with Entourage is because they even like there was one episode of Entourage the show where they had like he gets bad news at the end of one of the episodes. It was one of the best music cues I've ever seen in
Yeah.
my life, where he gets really bad news at one of the end of one of the episodes, and they play that Kid Cudi song, that hip hop. Is that? Oh no, Dead Prez. That Dead Prez
Yeah.
song, hip hop, and it's perfect because it goes. He gets the bad news and goes. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
So
They do a
whoever's
good
doing
job.
their music
It's well
does
made.
a great job.
I
So-
wonder if there's any connection with HBO specifically because I feel like their shows, for me, always are killing it with music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you one of the best parts about the show and the movie is the music.
Yeah.
Whoever is picking the songs is like knows what they're doing, and you're right. It is an HBO thing because a lot of HBO.
6 Feet Under.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
6 Feet Under.
Was like my life growing up. So, and that soundtrack changed me profoundly.
I do get annoyed at how popular "Don't Stop Believin'" is now because if it's used in The Sopranos, I don't think it's one of. I mean, it's a fine
you think
Journey
that's
song.
Why?
Yeah.
You think
Oh, it had
that's
definitely had a
yeah.
huge resurgence
Wow.
because of it. Yeah.
Don't Stop Believing is the very last song
I thought
of
it
The
was
Sopranos.
always,
And it's
like-
also they
I
play it
know,
at
that
every
I've
wedding
seen.
now, and it's like
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a standard.
I think there's half a dozen Journey songs that I'd be more excited to hear.
They use Journey a lot in The Sopranos. He used Wheel in the Sky when he's on the boat with
Yeah.
Anthony Jr.
There you go, better Journey song.
That's a better Journey song. You're right.
believe.
I think so.
Insecure on HBO right now.
Oh my God.
It's killing it with the music and everything.
That's a great show. I love
It is.
that show.
I will take any opportunity I can to be like,
Yeah.
it is the best show right now for me.
Yeah,
Really?
I was
Yeah.
just talking about that with
It's-
somebody. How
the writing is
Yeah.
just getting better and better each. Like it's
really good.
very strong.
and now have you guys watched Entourage, the television show?
I have.
Have you seen it?
And to be honest, like that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And we can kind of talk about this and then get into the movie. I think people remember. It's so funny because at this point, you just said the movie was 2015. I'm like, that's so.
I know, I'm surprised
That's
it-
not that
I was
long ago.
surprised by that,
Doesn't it
too.
feel like it was a longer?
Yeah.
For sure.
It does, right?
It does, especially when you watch the movie and some of the people that pop up is like, oh, they got a huge cameo from Ronda Rousey. It's like, who? And it's like, it's only 2 years later, and it's
Yeah.
like, who? The other thing I did realize about the movie that's interesting is that it literally came out like probably 2 weeks before Trump announced he was running for president. And so it's like, no
Interesting.
wonder it feels like it's from a different time. Like it literally was from a
Everything
different
before
era
that
of
time.
American history.
Yeah.
That's totally right. There was pre-Trump.
Yes.
And everything was Entourage.
The TV show, I don't know what year it started, but it must have been.
It was 2000. I think it was like 2004, maybe.
Okay.
Oh, well, you were asking if I've seen
Have you seen it? Have you seen the TV show?
Okay, well, I was actually excited to talk about this because we get a lot of complaints, some emails here on the show saying that I'm an SJW, liberal,
Social
whatever.
justice warrior. No, that was one email, and I read
All
it
right.
on the
You know what?
show.
I get the tweets too.
Okay.
And I just want to say that it balances itself out with my strong Long Island trash upbringing.
Sure.
Yes, I've seen Entourage. Yes, I've seen every episode of Entourage.
Nice.
It was weekly viewing for me. It was my life. I loved
Me too.
Entourage.
Me too,
I
absolutely.
learned a lot there.
The whole way through. Now this is my belief, and I think that I don't think I'm the first person to say this, but the first 2-3 seasons of Entourage are legitimately good.
Yes.
They are. It's a good TV show. It's like a fun and accurate depiction of Hollywood.
Self-aware.
It's funny.
Yeah.
There are good jokes. It's a Ari Gold is a great character. I mean, the guy literally he won 3 Emmys in a row, which is insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
was
it's
great
like
when
the
it
perfect
started,
marriage of
you're
actor
right.
and character, Jeremy Piven. And then I watched the whole thing. And it wasn't until, like, I would say it was probably 2 seasons past when it became sort of a caricature of itself.
Yeah.
And really stopped being funny that I was like, I don't know if I'm still enjoying this on the same level.
For sure,
Or if
by
I'm
the
enjoying,
end of it.
And then and then at a certain point, the last few seasons, you realize you're enjoying it on an ironic level, I think.
Yes, and you're right. That's what's so confusing about this show. Before you even get to the movie, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
The first 3 seasons of this show are legitimately good.
Yes.
And the writing is good.
Yeah.
The jokes are good, and it's way
It's very
smarter.
funny. I
It's way
remember loving it.
Yeah.
It's way smarter than it was. But then when it does, the show goes up its own ass.
Yeah.
And it becomes literally a cartoon version of itself. Because you know why? Because there was hysteria over this show.
Right.
I don't know if you remember at the time
Sure.
it was out. People were like, and it was also like, I think the way it started was like, it was supposed to like turn Hollywood, like have it look at itself. And, it was based on that Mark Wahlberg crew that he walked around with when he was
Yes.
coming up and stuff like that. But what happened was they started to, I think, just like Fast and the Furious, started to embrace the fans that took it like, that's us, bro.
Yeah.
That is us. You're Johnny Drama. You're Turtle, right?
Yeah.
Because you're the fat one. That's what happened.
I
It's like-
remember being aware that it was getting worse and being sad about it, but still being very invested.
'Cause
and
it got
I was not
really
going to
bad.
stop
Yeah.
watching it.
There-
It did. It got
like towards the end,
I think I
he had
may
a
have
pill
even.
problem.
Yeah, it was pretty unwatchable.
There's also a built-in problem, which is not their fault, which is once this show becomes about the biggest movie star in Hollywood and the biggest agent in Hollywood, their problems seem insignificant.
Yes.
So it's like,
Yeah.
is he going to date Mandy Moore or not?
Right.
Well, either way, his life is way better than anyone watching the show.
Yeah, you
I
need
can't
a
really get my...
You need a protagonist that's
So-
struggling, and then they tried to make it like, oh, now his career's not as good,
Right.
and that's a struggle,
Yeah.
but no
Right.
one gave a shit
They
about that.
tried to make it stakes, like, and they it was a little bit of a wink, like on the show when he played Pablo Escobar, they put him in a fat suit, and I think they were trying to make like that's sometimes Hollywood makes these disastrous decisions, and like not they're making political comments all the time, but I'm saying like that was supposed to be funny, I think, but it just didn't. You didn't care. You're like, yeah, he still has $12 million. Like
And-
that's the problem. It's like
And the other thing about the show that I think you were getting at when you're talking about your liberal social justice warrior is there are a lot of elements of the show that in 2017 that are from like that are very, very problematic.
Exactly,
Very
in terms
and that's
of,
the
like,
thing. I feel like
where it's
people would
it's
assume I
not
wouldn't
that
like
long
this
ago,
show.
but it's like, oh man, like the gay jokes. The about
insane.
Lloyd, the way women are treated, it gives you a little bit of an icky feeling. And by the way, some of that is still in the movie, but but it's
for sure.
definitely-
And I haven't seen the movie.
Okay.
you haven't seen the movie.
The thing is, this is an interesting thing, and we've come up on this before. I don't think I've seen the movie. I can't 100%
That
remember.
is fully possible. It's fully possible that, and I say
So
this
I'm
as,
looking forward
as
to
the
your
person whose
recap
job it is
so
to
I can
defend
see.
the movie. It's completely within the realm of possibility that you saw the movie and did not realize it, or that you did not remember it, or that you watched it on a plane and immediately forgot that you watched it, or that you watched it and thought it was an episode or 2 episodes of the show. All
Right.
of this is possible.
Exactly.
first
So
time-
when you give us the summary, I look
Yes.
forward to my experience of did I see this or not? Because
First time I saw it was on a plane.
Sure.
It's a plane movie.
It's a plane movie.
I
don't
would
think
watch
you-
it on a plane.
I don't think you could have more of a plane movie.
No, well, yeah, it's funny. I have a 2-year-old, and so my wife and I have this new thing where if we're on a plane with him and he falls asleep, first of all, you're so overjoyed to be able to just relax and watch a movie that you'll watch anything, but you also can't. It's not like the time to get into like a really like serious, intense movie.
You're not gonna watch Lincoln.
So we've watched. No, you're not. So we've watched Get Hard. And what's the also Daddy's Home on planes
Yeah.
while our kid's been asleep, and
Right.
it's like
Perfect.
they're fully enjoyable. Again, problematic on some level, but like
But you like the
it's-
people in them.
Yeah, it's what
you, don't
you
have to
want.
think about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really amazing,
If you need
though,
to like
like-
bail at any point,
The kid
because
wakes
like,
up, yeah.
you've not
You're not deeply
you can take 10
invested.
minutes
That's
off.
what they know, and I think they knew what it was. But also the mistake they made with the movie, they came out with the movie. I think it was after the show ended. What 2011 or
Yeah.
I
something?
just can't
2012?
believe it was only 2 years ago.
Isn't that
That's
nuts?
crazy.
They're-
But they came out with the movie in 2015. So the movie there wasn't that 3 years before the movie came out.
There
or
was
2
no
years?
demand for this film.
There was no demand. That's what it was.
There was no there was
Nobody
no
cared.
real reason for this movie to exist, other than the people in it needed the money.
Yep.
Or wanted the money. They're
Or it was already in the works. At
Yeah.
the end of the show, it was in the works, and movies take
Possible.
2
Now
years to
that's
get made.
possible.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, we spent. I don't know what the budget is on this thing. I would guess about $50 million."
But I
Yeah.
can't imagine them investing in it, knowing that the show had went downhill so much. Everyone knew that.
I think they found out after it came out. I think they still thought there was a little bit of clamoring for it. I think
Maybe.
because you know why? Because the buzz for the movie was a thing. I remember that
Yeah.
reading about that and then being like, "There's gonna be a movie? What?"
Yeah.
Like that was the other thing about Sopranos. That the rumor with that was there was going to be a Sopranos movie.
Yeah.
and
I'm
and
so happy
David Chase
there's
would.
not.
Oh yeah, David Chase would deny it left and right, but
Yeah.
apparently the thing was like they were in development of a Sopranos.
Well,
movie.
the other comparison would be Sex in the City,
Woohoo!
which was like
I
a
was gonna bring
popular
that up.
HBO show about 4 women. And the movie, the first one, was a huge success.
Yes.
So I can see why and it's sort of like similar cultural phenomenon. I could see why the Entourage producers thought, oh, our movie is going to be like the Sex in the City movie.
Yeah, they wish, bitch.
Well,
Instead, it was more like Sex in the City.
Sex in the
too.
City,
Yes.
their reruns went for years and years and years, and they were
stands the test of
syndicated
time,
on like
too.
regular TV. I
But
think.
I mean, like,
There's still problematic quote-unquote elements, but
the movies
I mean,
are terrible.
Right.
The movies are terrible. That's what happened. They don't translate.
We have defended the movie.
Yeah, we did
really?
Sex and the City too.
podcast,
Yeah.
Megan
So
Gailey.
I felt like, and we can get into the Entourage movie.
Let's do it. Yeah. Well, opening scene right away is like it just on a silver platter.
It is funny that like the
Do you know what the opening? Remember
Yes.
the opening scene?
What is it?
you open on a shot of a woman on a bikini or like a giant boat from above,
Like a yacht.
and then it's
Yeah.
just like a woman on in a bikini on a boat, like a hot girl
Super
for
hot
no
girl,
reason.
yeah.
And then like
With binoculars, and
yeah.
she's looking out on a speedboat.
and then the speedboat is these three other guys.
It's
Not
Turtle,
Vince, yeah.
Kevin O'Connor, whatever his name is, Turtle, E, and I guess and Johnny Drama.
And the first line of dialogue is Johnny Drama talking about jerking off.
He goes, "I may have to jerk it before we even get there."
Yeah, that's
And
the
where are
first line
they
of
going?
dialogue.
And she's looking
They're
at them
going-
with binoculars?
Vincent Chase is on this boat
on what's supposed to be his honeymoon, and it said
Yeah.
his what they've ended the marriage after 9 days, and it's become a giant party boat with topless women walking around for no reason.
Oh, my God.
Now, here's the thing:
God.
like the movie, this movie.
right off the bat.
Yeah.
They were like, "There's no way." Like that's what I bring this up a lot of the podcast.
Yes, that's what I'm wondering, too. Was it on purpose?
Was it on purpose? I always do this, and I go, it's either we're like, these guys are sitting there in the writer's room, and the Doug Allen guy is like, you just give them the most McDonald's version of this thing. Because it was already like that.
I do think that to me is the main defense of this movie is it's everything you would want from an Entourage movie or everything you would expect from an Entourage movie. Like it gives you the full Entourage experience. And that's the thing that I think that people, I think it's held up as an example of a terrible movie or an abomination, and really it's a fine movie. We all said we watched the late seasons of Entourage. We kept watching it, and it's exactly like the later seasons of
That's
Entourage.
what I was just going to say. That's why I say that it's not good. It's definitely not good. Like you're saying, it's not good. You're defending it,
Well,
but
he's saying it's good.
you're
I'm
saying
saying
good.
it's fine.
All right, if it wasn't an Entourage movie and it was standalone and it didn't have the TV show behind it, which it's impossible to do because they have backstory.
No, because the characters, some of the lines of dialogue and the jokes are funny because it's like Johnny Drama's character, and so him saying it is funny.
Yeah. Well, what they did was they recycled every trope, whatever you call it, from the Sex and the City TV show, like not Sex and the City, the Entourage TV show. Like, literally, Johnny Drama at one point is in the car. One line he says in the beginning, in the opening line is, "I may have to jerk it before I get there," and then another line, he's in the car with Turtle, and he's like, "I know everybody thinks I'm a joke for the past 20 years, but if this movie comes out, I think it's really something." And it's like, well, which one is it, dude?
Yeah.
Which one? What is going on here?
Yeah.
So they're all over the map, which is kind of how the show was. But they did, early on in the show, they did a better job of making it more endearing than they did later in the show.
Now,
which happens to a lot of TV shows.
Yeah, and there's the fundamental question is, how much are they in on the joke? I feel like they are. So I feel like, the levels, when you think about it, the levels to that character that Kevin Dillon is playing are crazy because he's playing a character that's sort of based on himself, where he was like a young star, like a young actor,
in the
successful.
80s, he was like becoming
the
a big
brother
name.
of like a Matt Dillon, who is like basically Johnny or Vincent Chase type, and then he's playing it like he's a joke, but he thinks he's cool, and you wonder like how cool does Kevin Dillon in real life think that he played this character? But he must know. You have to give them some credit, both him and Ari and the guy who plays Turtle, Jerry Ferrara, for being willing to make themselves look bad on camera. I think, and also like I mean, that guy's not. But he's willing to make himself look like a schmuck. You have to give them some credit for, that is like the fundamental question is like, are they just doing this to look cool? But they do all get like their, beaten down within the course of the movie.
I do wonder.
Well,
it's one thing to get beaten down during the course of a movie, and that's the script.
Yeah.
Are you saying, though, as like actors and people, if they're in on it? In some
way?
way?
No,
or
the writers. First off, the writers and the actors. I remember there was a line from the guy who played E, the guy Kevin, remember his name?
Connolly.
Connolly, And he said in an interview, he was like, I was about to retire before I got this role. And I was like, that's what makes me think he's not in on it, because I'm like, retire or just not be
That's
a
what I'm
working
saying.
actor?
I think
Like,
they think they're the shit. I think they
think they're the shit. I think it got to a point where they think they're the shit. I don't know if I think the writers get it more than they do.
Yeah, I do think they think they're the shit for sure, but I also think they know what works, and they know that they can't all be the star. And like, so, you know, for instance, like Jerry Ferrara might think that he's the shit, but he also knows that like he's not like the Vince of the group.
Right.
He's the turtle of the group, and what works well is him playing the turtle of the group, and he's willing to like be the butt of the jokes because he knows that will make the movie better. And I think he
playing a
deserves some credit.
character. And
I don't give him any credit for that. Just because
the more complicated one than that.
I still think he still thinks he's like really hot shit. I think he lost weight over the course of that
and
show.
they make him a millionaire in the show. And the movie, he's a millionaire because he sold that tequila company to Mark Cuban.
It's like even these guys who are like a turtle or whatever that other guy's name was, they still like think they're the shit, even though they're not Vincent Chase.
But the guy,
they're
Ferrara,
like, I'm still getting. They get blowjobs like every 5 minutes in the show.
But here's the thing with Ferrara. But to go back to the whole idea of like. It being a complete mirror of their own careers outside of the movie and the TV show. Like, Ferrara, like, that guy was that guy. Like, he was a fat guy. He always played the best friend. He always played the whatever it was before this. I forget what he did. He was in a couple other things. Like, little things, I think. So he was probably just happy for their work.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you look at, like you just said, Kevin Dillon, who actually, he was in Heaven Help Us back in the day. He was really good in it. And he was a good actor. But he had the Matt Dillon thing going on. I think he's playing Matt Dillon. I think he's playing himself, in his life. And also, I think what Donnie Wahlberg is almost supposed to be.
Yeah.
A little bit, because that's what it's based on. It's based on Mark Wahlberg. The complicated one is Adrian Grenier. Because what they're doing is they're saying, like, this kid's got it must be so weird for that guy. Also, in so many words, like they were making millions off the show, so it's like whatever. At the end of the day, everybody's fine.
He's doing fine.
But I always wondered,
and they're happy for the work.
They
know who they are.
It's got to mess with your head because he's playing a movie star in this show. So what it is like what they're saying is like he's this ditzy idiot guy who literally. He all he is a star. He's not a real actor. And they have a guy who in real life is kind of just like a bubblegum kind of actor who has movie star looks, but also never became movie star status.
Right.
So Adrian Grenier never became, he did movies after doing Entourage, but he never became this big name. So if you're Adrian Grenier in your head, you must be like, this is awesome, I'm working, but also like, what the fuck? You must be like,
I mean, there is that whole element to the show and the movie where you're like, this, which is kind of fun to watch, is that
I think that's why it speaks to people because why people are into it because they're like it's pretty.
It kind of mirrors their situation.
It mirrors the situation.
The only way he was actually able to become a movie star was to play a movie star. It's just
very
there's so
meta.
much of him.
It's a weird scenario. And also, I followed people I know like worked with him and like hung out. Like he lived in Brooklyn for a while. That guy Adrian. And I know I wonder if it formed his personality post Entourage.
Yeah.
Because he became like a spokesman for a bunch of charities.
I was going to say that too.
So it's like, okay, now was he just like that already? Or was he like, oh, I was this, I don't want people thinking I'm the moron from the show. So I'm going to have more substance to myself and I'm going to be about like the earth and the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but like also it's very rare to find someone like him who's handsome and charismatic, but not and believable as a movie star, but not so big of a movie star that they actually would not play the role.
Right.
And that's why I mean you have that's part of why like even by the end of the series and the movie, even though some of the other elements might not be up to snuff, the casting is so perfect that the movie still works on some level.
Incredible.
But if it was somebody else with the capability to become a movie star, based on the show, by the end of the run of that show, technically he would have become a movie star. Like, you know what I'm saying? If he had that thing, he's so
typecast where he you know as
it's kind of weird now. Maybe
it like eats its own tail.
Yeah,
people don't want to put him in their movies because they're like, oh, Vincent Chase is in that movie. It has its whole own association.
Now, to me, the biggest shift in the series from beginning to end, and sort of the reason why you can make the argument it doesn't quite work, even though I still enjoyed it, is the character of Ari, who sort of gains a heart and in so loses a lot of like what's funny about Ari.
Yeah.
He goes from this like full on like Hollywood shark, like just evil, mean, sort of giving you permission to laugh at like the stuff that's really offensive and inappropriate because he's an awful person. But then once he becomes a good person, but he still makes those jokes, it's sort of like, it's sort of like what, to me, it's similar to go back to Friends. Like, they kind of like soften the edges on Chandler, and I think he lost a lot over the course of the series.
He
like,
wasn't as dry.
He wasn't as sarcastic once you like cared about what happened in his life.
Right.
Yeah, when he started dating Courtney Cox.
And like once you're like they're trying to like get you like invested in like his marriage.
Yeah, like,
and,
now
his
he's good.
I'm like, and then him making like. Once he's like a good person and you're like rooting for him, like him making like gay jokes about Lloyd, like it just seems
because you're like, wait, it makes no sense.
He has the conscience now,
Yeah.
so then it seems worse.
But-
like at the beginning and with the Lloyd stuff, this was a terrible dude. Like, this is how they acted, and I think a lot of people enjoyed kind of the reality of like that would potentially be somebody's experience working at that place.
Right, and that's the other thing that I was thinking about while watching the movie is like, okay, so it's hard, like the world of Entourage is like horribly.
Big Lloyd
Lloyd gets married. Yeah.
I don't feel like I saw that.
Okay, you would remember that. Yeah, the world of Entourage is like horribly misogynistic and homophobic, right? So, can you make the argument that it's just an accurate representation of Hollywood, and that sort of gives
from
them
back
a pass.
then or from now?
I mean, even now, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a very real depiction in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
you don't think
And
it's
even
changed?
of those parties and stuff, and that's part of what made it such a good show in the beginning. Was that element. Like, it did reflect what goes on and what it still is,
right?
Even just in terms of like the hot girls they were surrounded by, all this, like you would say, oh, that's, it's annoying, it's really, objectifying women in the show and it's only making it worse. And
but that all exists.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, but then you're like, they're showing what Hollywood is, and that really is what it is.
Or they're making it worse. I'm not sure.
Well, I think they're basing it off real stuff, but I think they're also, the way that I always thought of it when the show was on is that it was a male Sex in the City. Like, it was like,
right.
And it was also, and then after a while it became like even in the movie, you could look at it and be like, yeah, this is just lifestyles of the rich and famous. The amount of cutaways to them getting in amazing cars and driving away that has nothing to do with the story is unbelievable.
No, yeah.
That was, I think, a really hard part, and what fascinates me just from like a writing perspective in the room, like, is when they decided to give Vincent that success, like, it fundamentally changes the nature of the show, and it did.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like...
Yeah, because it kind of...
Because at the beginning, he was
hustling.
To have some kind of struggle in there, I think, to
there
make
was real stakes, and then the stakes went away. The minute that he got his money from Aquaman, it's like the stakes go away, and then it becomes about...
I don't know, though. I still wonder, like, if it could have still been a good show.
There are no... I mean...
Well, it also went, like... I think I started rewatching it. It went, like, 8 seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking
most shows don't...
the room changed. People move on to different projects.
Yeah. Oh,
whatever
absolutely.
happens, it's, like, not the right chemistry.
There are no stakes in the movie.
No, there's no... That's the other thing about it.
It's more
weird.
like... Is it like a buddy film? Like, that's kind of when I think I saw it and what I remember.
Yeah. It's like a giant okay episode of the show.
Do they come
later
back
on
to
in the
Brooklyn?
series.
It's a perfectly fine episode of the show. No.
They don't go back to Brooklyn. No, it's all in L.A. It's done with the same beats as the show. They should have just called it Cameos in Cars. That's basically what it was. But it's a bunch of cameos, like he has a screening of the basically. All right, let's do this. We do this on the show. And
okay.
We have to. I'm not wrapping up now, but we're late getting to this. As succinctly as you can, describe to Farrah the plot of the movie. She knows the characters. She watched the show. What's the plot of Entourage, the movie?
So Ari Gold has supposedly retired to Italy, but now he's coming back to run the studio and and Vince. He wants Vince to star in his big new tentpole movie, and Vince only agrees to do it if he can direct the movie. And Ari says yes, And so then the movie is at risk of Vince needs more money for the movie.
But let me really stop you really quickly, this speaks to what we were
And what is
just
this
talking
movie?
about.
I'm just not sure if I saw this.
You probably didn't. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Because then you got a good
What was
honest
that
reaction
movie
to.
about, though, that they were trying to make?
Hyde.
Hyde.
It's Jekyll. It's a version of Jekyll and Hyde in which Hyde is an EDM DJ.
Which, that's tongue-in-cheek. That has to be.
Sure.
It has to be. But
And very 2015.
very 2015.
I miss
Also,
it.
what I realized that they did was, when we're trying to figure out how there's no stakes, the stakes in the show, what they become, is Vincent Chase making more demands.
Yeah.
Because in the TV show, he'd be like, I'm going to quit Aquaman. They'd be like, bah, bah,
Yeah.
nah. They were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Or the head of Warner Brothers hates Vince and he fired him or they sold the script. Like, it's all, but a lot of it is Vince making like an irrational decision.
Yes.
And then having to be convinced not to do this. Like, literally, that's why I stopped you, because in the opening thing, he's like, yeah, he gets married, and then he's like, I want to do that movie, but if I'm going to do it, I want to direct. And then everybody's like, does he know how to direct?
Yeah.
And then that's the crux of the beginning part of the movie.
I think that's a good,
It's a thing. It's a thing in
something.
Hollywood.
But it's a thing. It is a thing in Hollywood. That's what I'm saying. It's like a no stakes thing. It's like one of those things where it's like,
Now, did he just marry Sloane?
that's Eric. That's E.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I don't know
God.
who Vince married.
Right.
I don't think they even say.
But so
A headless
Bikini
woman.
Girl number
and a-
3.
yeah.
not only does Vince direct the movie, but he needs more money to finish it, and so they have to go to this Texas billionaire and his son who have funded the movie to get more money, played by Billy Bob Thornton, who's good. And Haley Joel Osment, who is great. Let's just say it. This is the beginning of the
my old
Haley Joel
college
Osment.
pal.
Oh, renaissance.
It's his comeback.
And by the way, he's been back in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And this was like sort of the beginning of it, and he's been good, and I'm just happy to see him back on the scene. He was in Silicon Valley. He was great in that.
He was.
Shout out
and
to
he also played a very
HJO.
similar type character.
Yes,
It's very,
yes.
it's like this rootin'
So he's
tootin'.
found like a good... And thank you to Entourage for bringing him back into our lives. That's another defense of the movie.
I feel like I remember that.
So,
Entourage brought him back into the entourage of our lives.
basically, everyone has their own quest in this movie. Vince has to get his movie funded and made. Ari has to keep his job at the studio. His wife... Sloane, he's broken up with, but she's pregnant with his baby, and so he has to navigate that while continuing to date other people. Johnny Drama is in the movie, and there's a big climactic.
Haley Joel Osment wants him taken out of the movie.
Yep, he wants him taken out of the movie, but it's about whether his part is going to stay in the movie or not. And Turtle, is he or is he not going to date Ronda Rousey? And is
Are you serious?
which
Yeah.
again, I have to give them perfect
I feel
credit.
like I did see that.
I have to give them credit. They picked the perfect celebrity where it's certainly looks-wise, maybe not fame-wise, it's definitely believable that Turtle could date Ronda Rousey. It's very hard to get a big-name woman where you're like, oh, no, there's no way like Turtle could date that woman. We're like, yeah, I guess he could date Ronda Rousey.
I mean, but I know of people, and I'm not going to say any names, where it's like they date these women that you wouldn't believe it.
Sure.
Top.
Well,
Like,
also, keep in mind...
But Ronda Rousey is cool as fuck.
in
I
the
think that's
movie-
a great get for him. He's reaching high on that.
In the movie Turtle, he has that company, and he has multi-millions of dollars. So it's like that, even more so, he could date Ronda Rousey. Because
Which brings me to another point about why the Entourage movie gives you exactly what you want, which is the cameos are outstanding.
it's just
they're
plentiful.
exactly what you want. They are
Name names.
they're endless.
Mike Tyson, Mark Cuban, T.I.
Pharrell, Rob Gronkowski,
Pharrell.
and Russell Wilson, and and then like Gary Busey shows up at the perfect moment to deliver like the perfect Gary Busey scene.
Yeah.
So it seems like they just wanted to have fun with
They
it.
did.
which
They
is-
did. And then like Armie Hammer is actually great in it in his little
Yeah,
cameo.
yeah, he's good in
very
it.
funny.
And that's the beginning of him being famous.
Yeah,
pretty
no,
much.
he was already
He was already kinda
he was
famous.
already in the Facebook movie, I think, at that point.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay.
So
Great movie.
but like it's just like hundreds of them layered on top. Like, and then like there's ones that like reward you. Like I had to go back and rewind for like Thierry Henry, the big soccer player, he's like Thierry, coach my son's team. He's like, no fucking way, Art. And then like just like ones where you're like, there's all sorts of levels of cameos, like ones that reward like your knowledge, and like other ones where it's just like, oh, it's cool they got that person, And it's one of those things where you knew it, like I think they are in on the joke in this level, because like one of the main jokes about the Entourage movie would be like, there's Vince walking down the street and, oh hey, who did I run into? But Rob Gronkowski and Gary Busey, and then like that's what they do in the movie.
Yeah, it's a joke. They're making fun of themselves.
Of course, Wahlberg makes his cameos,
Right.
and not to spoil the ending, but the closing scene, Wahlberg I think is great in. He has a great delivery of his. You might have missed the ending where he
How
presents.
does it end?
Well, it ends
what
with
happens? So they go
they
into
make
battle.
the movie.
That
There's a battle over the money, and then Ari does lose his job at the studio over this movie that went way over budget, but the movie ends up being a huge hit, and they get the money for it, and then it's get nominated for several Golden Globes, which, as we all know, is very prestigious, and Johnny Drama wins the Golden Globe for his role in Hyde, and the award is presented to him by Mark Wahlberg. And Mark Wahlberg has a great delivery of the line where he can't believe that Johnny Drama has won. But and also, by the way, we should just mention, I am not spoiling anything, because no one's enjoyment of this movie is going to be determined by learning what happens. Like you're
Say
watching
whatever.
it, you're enjoying it, you're hoping there's some good jokes, and there are some good jokes. You're hoping there's some cameos. There's cameos. You want there to be music. There's music. You want to see your old friends together again, and you do, and it gives you everything you want.
It's like watching a 2-hour episode of the show. That's
Yes.
basically what it is.
Yeah.
And then they have an E storyline where like he is like kind of dating this blonde girl, Melanie, while he's going to like Lamaze classes with Sloane, and she calls him up. There's a weird aside where like then he goes to a screening of the movie at Vincent Chase's house, and Turtle spikes his water with. That's another 2015
Johnny
thing.
Drama, yeah.
Johnny Drama spikes his water with Molly
Yeah.
and like Viagra or whatever it is.
It's
So that's supposed to be a big funny scene, because then it's weird because they have the guy E acting like he's on Molly, but he just seems like he's just creepy. It
It's
doesn't
not.
seem like.
Well, here's the thing. E is the weakest character in the show.
Absolutely.
And that's why it makes perfect sense that he has the weakest plot in the movie. It gives
Yeah.
you exactly what you want out of an Entourage show, which is E's plot
That's
is
my
kind of not
least
that
favorite
good.
part of every movie.
Yeah.
Is what? Every
Somebody
show.
gets fucked up by accident.
You know what? And to their credit, they realize he can't pull it off. The actor cannot pull off this, and so they very much minimize it.
They
Like you
did
said, they sort of
minimize it.
downplay it, and they use it. They
the lot on
realize
the cutting room
that
floor of him pretending he's on ecstasy.
He's
and
realizing he's
Viagra.
high, and he's like, I'm going to talk to that girl. And then he just goes away. Like, it's very quick.
Yeah.
And then he ends up having sex with this other girl, and it turns out him and the blonde, he had sex with 2 girls on the same day, and they used to live together. So they set him up, but the blonde calls him and goes, meet me at this coffee shop. I'm pregnant, and if you don't call me back, if you don't meet me, I'm calling my attorney. And he's freaking out. And then they do
Character
that.
was always so annoying to me.
They also do that thing. I think they did this joke before in the show where like Drama and Turtle see him walking, like thinking about stuff, and they're like, "Yo, E!" Like they just do that, and they go, "Yo, E, what are you doing? Nobody walks in L.A., bro."
Yeah,
and it's
I
like,
know.
come on, dude. That I know. I guarantee you they've done that joke on the show.
guarantee
There's
you, yeah.
no way they haven't. So he's like, well, leave me alone, whatever. He's like, and he just looks at him and goes, my life is over. And it's like, no, you're fine. Don't worry.
Now, what did you think of the moment when the screening was canceled? And
Well, it made me-
Vince had to go, but the good news is Pharrell is here and he's going to perform. And then Pharrell gets up and performs. To me, that's like a perfect. That's what that scene should be in a movie, and they nailed it.
Well, I think it's so weird. I was watching it like So basically the point, if you break it down, the point of that scene was to show you all those cameos, but they knew they couldn't reveal what people thought of the movie yet in the movie, so they had to cancel the screening and extend that whatever you want to call it, that, you know, the suspense on that. But then they had to have a reason for people being there, or people would hate Vince.
Yeah.
So they go, there's Pharrell and some other random guy. I think it was with, I guess, whoever.
Yeah, I forget.
I don't know what it was. But then Pharrell also, this is a couple years ago, so it's like Pharrell in one of those like Bob the Builder hats, or not Bob the Builder, like the Curious George and what's his name, the Man in the Yellow Hat.
Yeah,
His giant cowboy hat, and he's like standing there. Also,
but
nobody, I don't care who you are and if you're how close you are, nobody that's famous is going to be like, yeah, I'll perform at your party right now. Like, nobody would want to do that.
But
like,
to
at
their
a
credit,
screening at a movie screening.
But again, like, to their credit, like, they got Pharrell. Like in 2015 when he was a huge star.
To do the Entourage movie.
No, that is the thing. I mean, like, we're talking about it like, oh, it was a joke. Everyone knew it was going to be bad. They got so many celebrities in this movie. They got Russell Wilson after he won the Super Bowl. They got all.
That's because I feel like everyone was in on the joke, though. Almost.
I guess so.
And it was fun people that they all wanted to work with.
To be honest,
but also, I think they wanted to hang out with hot girls on a movie set. And,
I feel like it was.
And also, a lot of people they have do cameos are not actors.
Yeah.
So they're probably like, I get to be in a movie?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
True, good point.
Because here's the thing. If that had been, let's say that scene had been like, but the good news is Snoop Dogg is here and he's going to perform, you would have thought like, oh, that's a joke because like he's in Snoop Dogg will do anything. Like he's not, it's not hard to get like Snoop Dogg to like be in your thing and like.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It was a good get to get
Pharrell's a good get.
Pharrell's
we
a good
should
get.
get Snoop Dogg on this podcast.
You could.
But it's
should
also
definitely
like
do that.
we definitely have Snoop Dogg on this podcast. But it's funny. You're right, because it's funny because it's like basically when you're watching them be like, Pharrell's here, so that you can see the meeting where they're like, listen, all you have to do is you walk in, you don't even say anything. You walk in, they go, Pharrell's here, can you perform for us? And you say yes. They start playing your music in the background and it's done. That is
the other one of the things I've wondered about the movie is do they write the script first or do they get the names of the cameos first and then have to figure out a way to wedge them in? Are they like, we got Russell Wilson, what do we do with him? Or do they write the script for Russell Wilson and then hope that he says yes, and if he says no, you go to like Matt Ryan.
Right. I
don't know.
I think that's a good call. Like, I think it's what you just said. They they shoot for these people.
Yeah.
And then their parts are so interchangeable and it's so disjointed how they show up. All they're literally doing is showing up, like chanting stuff or like saying one word or just standing there for the most part. Except for like T.I. and
a
his
lot
wife.
of it is literally like, hey, look, it's Liam Neeson. Like that's the line that introduces Liam Neeson where you're just like,
Well, that actually wasn't a bad joke.
that one was
I
fun.
honestly
he sees
do not
Liam-
think I saw this movie.
You probably didn't.
No, you didn't.
I really don't
I've
think I
become
did.
convinced at this point that you
Yeah.
He
I don't
sees
think I
Liam
have.
Neeson in his car and he goes, Liam! And then Liam is like, fuck you all. Everybody says fuck you. That's the running gag. Fuck you, Ari, because he probably fucked him over to my... And then he goes...
It just got tired.
He
I
goes-
mean, I think it was such a big character. It just got tired.
What, Ari?
Yeah.
And I think there were probably a million rip-offs of it, and so it became like this idea of like this age. I mean, the agent character is older, but he really crystallized to something, and I think afterwards there were a lot of like snarky agents on TV and in movies.
Yeah, it had like 3 great years.
He's based off Ari Emanuel.
Yes.
And who's what's it called?
big
Rahm Emanuel's
agent. Yeah.
brother.
Mhm.
Yeah. And apparently he's exactly like that. So I think, or he was exactly like that for the first few seasons of the show, and then who knows where it goes from there.
I don't know how much more time we have, but I have one more question for you guys
let's
about
hear it.
the Entourage movie and the TV show.
Let's hear it.
Why is it the rare comedy that other comedians feel free to shit on? Why is it that like even like because I think there's sort of sometimes there's a rule among comedians that you don't necessarily like. You wouldn't make fun of another comedy or some other, but why is it that Entourage feels like it's okay for to be like a punchline?
Because it became so uncool, which speaks back to what we started talking about.
It became
I think it's
a
bullshit that
punchline.
people do that because when that show came out, it was like people weren't
Cool.
doing that. It was cool. It was
Yeah.
cool for 3 years. Or if you want to say 2 years, whatever it was.
Right.
Right away, it was like, oh, this is kind of making fun of Hollywood. Cool. And then after a while, when it became Fast and the Furious, when it became like, this is us, bro. I am Queens Boulevard. I'm this. Like, when it like I said, like you said, it ate its own tail and it became its own thing, and they played into the wrong aspects of it, and they didn't keep it. But also, it would have been very hard to keep it that tongue-in-cheek for that long, I guess, because the characters, they just get more and more amped up as themselves. Like, how long are you going to have Johnny Drama going on auditions? You know what I'm saying? So after a while, people, instead of the people that are like laughing at that, because it's like commenting on like auditioning in Hollywood, the people that come in are the people that are like, oh, Johnny Drama's part of the crew. Like, it becomes like, it gets dumbed down after a while.
Do you think it could have been great as a movie?
The whole
alone to start? And
well,
never had been a show. I mean, it had three great years, but
oh, you mean not having the show and just having the movie?
Say it was just a movie, because it seems like continuing these things, like you're saying, it was hard to see him still going on auditions, this and that. So it's like,
no, I think it should have been a show that lasted less seasons.
Okay, yeah.
And then if you would have stopped that after the 5th season, people would have been like,
that's the thing. When you're saying why is it okay to make fun of? Like, it's a meritocracy. Like it got bad, so you should be able to call out stuff that's bad. I think anybody would be like, oh yeah, that show was good.
But you know what? Here's the thing, though. Like, it's very tricky. You're right, because I think it's not. They should make fun of it, because when you're watching it, here's the thing. It's not like it took a complete 180 after season 3. There's still the same characters, the same people. The writing changed, and then also it stayed around for too long. So then it
definitely stayed for too long.
People hipsterfied it. They went, Entourage, like, been there, done that.
The one thing I wanted from the movie that I did not get was there were so many people making fun of it when it came out, so many comedians trashing it and how bad it looked, that I wanted like 3 to 4 cameos from like cool alt comedians to make those people feel bad.
Yeah.
So that like what people would have been like trashing the thing, and then it's like, oh man, like I feel bad because like Hannibal Buress and Kyle Kinane are in it.
But it wasn't like that because it wasn't that. Like, it was what it was, and it was made fun of for being what it was. Like, they could have avoided that in the Sex and the City movies. I'll just say, even though they're questionable in whether you're going to say it's a good movie or not, the characters developed and were on a totally different level. You know, they were parents, and they were going through divorces, and they were, you know, this and that. Where like in Entourage, it was like, and now we're just back for like the same old good friend stuff. Like it,
because they tried to keep it the core. What people liked it for,
which I think is fine.
Which is fine.
And I'm not going to say Sex and the City stretched so past.
To be honest, they have his wife is pregnant. Well, Sloane is pregnant. The thing, but like. Even that, you're right, because even when in the movie, Sloane's pregnant, but they're broken up. Like, it's not like, hey, I'm married. Like,
because they can't pull them away from the parties.
The storyline could be like, hey, I'm married now. This is harder for me to do stuff. They should have.
That would be more interesting.
I wonder if it would have more credibility if they had them go through real life stuff.
Yeah.
And they almost went the opposite way.
Because I never believed that he would mess it up with Sloane. I think that's a weird twist to it.
Well, he messes it up during the run of the show.
I know, and I never bought that. I really believed like if he got a chance with Sloane, he would make it right, and it would have been more interesting to me to see that.
Him and when he's into Malin Ackerman, remember that when he's into her friend and they had the threesome?
Like that's all when it's bullshit to me. When he got I mean, she.
Look, I don't think this way, but if you're just going to judge it on a sheer Entourage-esque level, you don't screw it up with Emmanuelle Shrieky. She's too attractive.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
Physically.
what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's I could not.
She's a very attrattive woman.
I could not feel
she was
for
in
him
the
after
Zohan.
that.
She was in You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Would you say that this really broke her out?
This broke her
so.
out,
Of course.
and then the show broke her out, and then maybe the movie broke her back in, or maybe she doesn't have anything to worry about, and she's a delightful person with a wonderful life and a wonderful career. And if so,
that's how I like to think of most of these people, and I do think she is in that position.
Well, let's wrap up soon, but let's do this. Let me ask you, because we're going to do Will Ferrell See It, and it's actually an interesting one because you've seen the TV show, so we can assume yes, but who knows? Matt, give us 3 reasons why you're defending this movie.
why I'm defending this movie.
And try to keep them
Okay.
as original as possible.
Original based on,
not just like-
different than what I've said already,
Not
or can
just-
may I summarize what I've already said?
You can summarize what you already said, but I'm saying I think we have to discount the "it's so bad it's good" reason.
No,
now.
it's not.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Number one,
People say it all the time. That's the only reason.
It's the perfect encapsulation of the Entourage television show. And if you enjoyed the television show all the way to the end, you will enjoy the movie. I think it's different from Sex and the City in that I think Sex and the City, the movies are definitively worse than the TV show. And I think Entourage, if you like the TV show, you will like the movie.
I'll give you this before you give me the answer.
Yeah.
One good point is that that I just thought of is that it's better than the last season of the show. It's way better than the last 2 seasons of the show.
But
Yeah.
why can't it be as good as the first season? That's my
because
question.
it just
then
it was
why
around for
couldn't
too
the
long.
last 4 seasons be as good as
Yeah,
the first
right,
season?
yeah,
Because
It's
those
fault-
people are out of ideas.
Yeah, the wheel's fault. It's
I don't know.
it's hard to write TV shows.
So, number 2, on a very surface level, it's a really fun movie to watch and listen to. Great music, great scenery, great, cool cars, cool look at, cameos.
Cameos and cars.
Attractive people of both sexes. And it's like a glossy, sort of exciting, movie to
eye candy.
Yeah, it's
eye candy.
It's eye and ear
Eye and
candy.
ear.
Okay,
Thank you,
yeah.
yes. That would be the second reason to watch that I would say you should watch the Entourage movie.
Okay.
The third reason would be that if you are on a plane or surfing Netflix and trying to come up with something agreeable to watch with your spouse, or let's say you're bottle feeding at 3 a.m. or breastfeeding, or and you need something that is going to keep your mind occupied but not distract you so much from the task at hand. Or if you're trying to, if you just have a movie on in the background,
while you're bottle
this is
feeding.
the movie for you. It is not going to annoy you so much that you have to turn it off. It's not going to, but it's not going to require so much of your attention and your mind that you need to focus on it.
Well,
I think it's a wallpaper.
The defense
background
is that it's white noise.
movie, but it's not. But this is important, an important distinction, because I think that it has a reputation as an aggressively bad and offensive and
it's not completely that.
a movie, and I don't think it's that.
Well-
I don't think it is that. I think that it's a perfectly enjoyable 2 hours of your life. Hour 45 minutes or whatever.
Well, be careful if you're watching it when you're breastfeeding a baby, because you don't want the baby's first words to be, "Oh yeah,"
Yeah.
or "I am Queen's Boulevard."
I'm gonna have to jerk off before we get there. You don't want your baby to say that. Yeah, that's not good.
Okay, let's the moment of truth. Farrah, you've seen this show. You've heard what Matt has to say. Will you see the movie?
This is a very interesting question. I think something I've realized is that I feel like, I don't know, maybe it was the writing going downhill or this or that, or that the story couldn't continue past a certain point. But I do think we've come up on that. It's a very interesting time in the country that this show took place.
Right before the Trump thing?
And the acceptance and the love of it that turns to the strong hate of it is a really interesting representation in that time of where stuff was going in terms of what people liked and thought was acceptable, and then
but
what
has it
kinda
aired
came-
out? Does it become more normal now to watch it, and not hate it? I feel like it's been a couple of years now. You can watch it and
I don't
not
know,
be
it
like,
sounds-
"This is awful."
It harkens back.
It sounds bad. Though. It sounds bad, genuinely bad. Anything.
It harkens back to a time in our country's history where you can enjoy Entourage and not be like a Nazi Trump supporter.
Right, exactly.
So
you
in
could
that
enjoy
way,
it on a
in that way, it's sort of nostalgic. I think that's,
It is. I mean, there were a lot of shows at that time where you would watch it and you knew it was shitty and that they were being whatever, but you could still love it. It was harmless. Anyway, that doesn't answer the question.
What's your answer?
Honestly, no.
You're not gonna watch it.
I'm definitely not on my own accord going to go watch this movie.
Unless you're
If I
forced.
was trapped on a plane, sure, but from what I've heard today, I truly think this is the type of movie I would turn off because it's that bad.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
the feeling.
Okay, all
I
right.
feel like it sounds boring and like not fun. For me personally, cameos are not enough to keep my attention. I don't get so excited by those.
There's boring
And
parts. It's a moments movie. It's not an overall
It
like
sounds painful
journey.
to me.
It's a
People will
moments-
not be studying the script like they do Chinatown in film schools.
But
yes.
like we said, they knew that when they were going into it.
Totally. It sounds acceptable if I was stuck in a place and it happened to be on, but I wouldn't even Netflix for something mindless on this. It sounds almost like it would agitate me to watch.
Okay.
It just sounds
All right.
that
That's
bad.
a big no from Farrah. All right, well.
That's a no from Farrah.
Thank you
yes
so much.
for the plane, a no for
No in
life.
real life. Okay. Well, thank you for doing this, dude. Did you have fun?
It was so much fun. I enjoyed the opportunity to defend.
It's fun to talk about Entourage. I would go back and watch those early episodes. I think
I started doing it again, and it's good.
Yeah, I think I just like to keep things in a happy bubble in my head. I have a fine memory of Entourage when it was good.
Yeah.
And I don't
you
want
don't want to ruin that.
No.
Matt, what would you like to plug? I think you had a couple things you
Oh,
wanted to mention.
yes. Two things. Number one, we mentioned it before, the Sorry I've Been So Busy podcast
Yes.
on the Showbiz Network.
It's on iTunes. You have a Twitter for it.
Yes, it's called @Busy Podcast. We also have a Facebook page @Busy Podcast, and iTunes search for Sorry I've Been So Busy. That's my podcast that I co-host with Andrew Goldstein. You were a guest. We talked to very busy people about what they are busy with, or
Yes.
not very busy people about what they are pretending to be busy with. Farrah,
Absolutely.
we would love to have you on as a guest sometime.
Great. That
It's
sounds fun.
really fun. We just went to LA and we did a bunch of shows. We have the Sklar Brothers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we have a bunch more coming up. So please check that out. And then it's a little early, but October 6th, I have my album coming out.
Oh.
Wow.
The Matt Goldich Guarantee. I recorded it. Is
that what it's called?
Yes, the Matt Goldich. That's the
I
name
like
of the
that.
album.
That's
And
cool.
it's my first stand-up album, and I recorded it at the Stand here in
that's
New York
great.
in April, and it's being released on October 6th on Amazon and iTunes and anywhere where you buy albums. I think you can actually go and pre-order it now, if I'm correct. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. All right, cool. So check that out. Any other live stuff coming up? No, because
Those would be the two.
Watch Seth Meyers.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And Farrah, we do this all the time, but we'll keep doing it. What would you like to plug, Farrah?
Oh, I had an idea. I was like during the week thinking, I have an idea of something to plug, and I can't remember.
That's it?
Well, I've
What's your
plugged Rent Party a
Yeah,
thousand
so do Rent
times.
Party.
Third Wednesday of the month
We
at
might
Union
start
Hall.
a Thursday show.
It's
so we
really
have to-
fun. We might start a Thursday show. I also want to plug, hopefully by tomorrow, we will have a Patreon.
Yes, we're going to work that out.
We hope.
Today
We're
gonna
going
work
to
that out.
try.
Your
We'll see where
plug
we
is
get.
also how they came up with the Entourage movie. I had an idea for the movie, and then I
It
dropped
seemed
my
like a good
phone in
idea.
the bay. And then now the idea is gone, and I don't have it anymore, so we just have to come up with something the next week, because Gronk is coming.
Yeah.
We don't have...
We gotta have him do something.
Yeah.
He has a broken arm and he's just cheering for stuff. And my Twitter is @ShawneeTime. The Twitter for Defend Your Movie is @DefendYourMovie. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/DefendYourMovie. Check us out on Laughable. We're on Showbiz Studios that has a YouTube page and an iTunes page. Also, as far as live stuff goes, and the Patreon, which we'll put details online if we can get it worked out by tomorrow. The other thing is, I have a show at the Fat Black Pussycat on September 13th. If you listen to this podcast, if you like our comedy, if you like my comedy, please come check it out. It's at 8:30, Fat Black Pussycat. It's part of the Comedy Cellar family of rooms. Come check it out. It's going to be really, really fun. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited you could, and this was so much fun, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Defend your movie.
Nice.